Welcome to the KuppingerCole Analyst Chat. I'm your host. My name is Matthias. I'm Senior Analyst and Lead Advisor for KuppingerCole Analysts. My guest today is John Tolbert. He is Lead Analyst for KuppingerCole in the US. Hi, John.
Hi, Matthias.
Great to have you. And this is the first of two episodes that we are doing around a topic of cybersecurity, which has been around for quite some time, but is still not yet used in the way that we would expect it to be. Let's start with MFA. How is the level of adoption currently, especially when it comes to enterprise use cases?
I think that's a really interesting question. And, we have recently seen a paper that was published by Microsoft. It's a survey of MFA or multi-factor authentication adoption at the enterprise level, looking specifically at what they see for Azure. And it's kind of interesting. You're right. We have been talking about multi-factor authentication for many, many years now. And the number of usage is surprisingly low. It's 22%. So, around 1/5 of enterprises are using multi-factor authentication. And, given the emphasis, the number of news stories that we've seen in recent years around things, as disparate as ransomware attacks on enterprises that are leveraging credentials to various kinds of fraud, especially account takeover fraud, insider risks, data exfiltration. Many of these, most of us in the industry have been recommending multi-factor authentication as, a chief means for remediating these kinds of risks. So to see that the adoption rate is down at 22% is very surprising. Certainly would expect a higher rate of utilization than that. And I think, we in industry need to continue to communicate the need for MFA and also to talk about, the variety of different kinds of multi-factor authenticators that are out there and how they might be useful for different kinds of enterprises.
Right. Does that mean that organizations are not adequately executing some kind of risk assessment? So comparing the price to spend for introducing MFA versus the risk that comes with it when there is a breach, when there's no MFA?
It may be a decision about risk. It may be a decision about, user convenience as well. I think, from our consumer world, we are all familiar with what MFA tends to mean, with getting an SMS text and then having to enter it somewhere else. And, it's not very convenient. And actually, that's kind of fraught with security problems of its own. But, there are alternatives in the enterprise space, especially, that can bring together both, a good user experience as well as improved security. And maybe that's the message that we really should focus on, to try to encourage MFA adoption.
Right. So, but how can we spread the message apart from the research that we do?
Well, research is one good way. We do review a lot of different products that are out there. We can certainly talk about and help people with their journeys on to passwordless and risk-based authentication. We are looking forward about a month from now for our EIC, the European Identity and Cloud Conference, where there will be a pretty good focus, of course, on identity subjects and authentication in particular. And we even have a session called MFA usage in the enterprise. So on that panel, we're going to talk to practitioners about MFA adoption in the enterprise and talk about some of the different kinds of options that are out there and how well or not they're working for those who will be there on the panel.
Great. Good to hear that. So it really is, the first stop would be our website, going to KuppingerCole.com and learning more about MFA. Second is joining us at EIC virtually or in person from the 10th to the 13th of May in Berlin for the EIC. And the third could be get in touch with us and get support in form of advisory. So thank you very much, John, for raising that topic, because I think it's really important that this level of security is raised, because just having a fifth of the enterprise users being capable of using MFA, this is just not adequate for 2022. And looking forward to our second episode with another topic where the adoption could also be much better. Thank you very much, John, for being my guest today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.